Society is an organisation that was started in the heavy snowfall of 1963.
Oh, the weather outside is frightful.
Mr. Westlake, who was a dentist, started this as a sort of self-support group in Chew Magna, as far as I can make out, to entertain themselves because they couldn't get out of the village.
Doesn't show signs of stopping, and I brought some corn for popping.
And then Dr. Hughes took on the idea.
Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. When
it was a great feeling of community then, because everyone walked from outlying villages when it snowed to get all their food in, get stocked up in Chew Magna. And you would have all these people walking up and down the village street, and of course everybody stopped to chat. And it was a special sort of atmosphere.
You and I walked to Chew Stoke to collect milk, and we staggered back with 9 bottles of milk, only to find the milk had been delivered by tractor.
It started on the Boxing Day, and I know in the shelter parts of our garden, the last little bit of snow under the hedges didn't go until the beginning of May.
But as long as you love me so, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
Dr. Hughes started off the forming of the Chew Magna Society.
Dr. Hughes started off by thinking it was becoming a sort of commuter village. He felt something should be done to bring the village together, and so sort of had an open meeting to which a lot of people came, and it evolved from there.
I think it's nice to be able to bring the village together. Dr. Hughes wanted to try and keep the village feeling and community, which was he was concerned about, I think.
He could see what was liable to happen in the village if we didn't all get together, which I've always thought was very far-sighted.
I remember Mr. Pitt, Jean Pitt's husband, coming to see me. We were all having breakfast, and I felt terribly honoured because he came and asked if I could join the society. And I joined for about 4 years, organising things like the fete.
I was asked to go on the committee when it started, and the very first one was a very wet one, and it was enough rain to put anybody off for good.
I remember driving a lorry in it with a float on the back, and it rained, and it rained, and it rained, and I don't remember seeing anything except the windscreen wipers and the back of the float in front.
As soon as we arrived in this village, we were told about this wonderful summer fair, and very foolishly we launched into it with gay abandon and sort of got totally hooked and seem to have stayed with it ever since.
They used to all go up to Broadcroft, and then there was one parade all down through the village with a little band of some sort on the front, and you'd get all these, nothing but 10 or 12 floats. And then all the children in fancy dress. It was a great day.
I remember decorating somebody's lorry, and we dressed it up as pound coins or something, Royal Britannia, something like that. Well, no, not pound coins, it'd been pound notes in those days. And everybody paraded through and ended up, in those days, down in a field down in Flowers Farm.
People worked for weeks on them. The Women's Institute and the Youth Club and the Cricket Club and
GTC, which Mrs. Hughes
did, yes.
organised.
Everyone took part. The drama group, the Wives Club, the primary school, the Browners, they would all have their floats.
Always like the Wives Club and the Fire Brigade and the Young Farmers. And I think then there was the Young Conservatives. But there would be a whole parade of lorries. Everyone used to get tractors and lorries and dress up. And
real good big processions with the children.
And everyone became involved in it.
It was a marvellous contribution the Chew Magna Society made when it was formed, because it gave people a meaning to being together and working together.
I mean, I wouldn't have let a summer fair go by, but I didn't dress up and do a parade.
They were excellent, and the entire village turned out. Wonderful feeling of community.
And all the mums and dads and the children would be there decorating.
The rainbow wagon, the St. Trinian's float one year.
An underwater wagon.
An underwater float another year. St. George and the Dragon another year.
It was very inventive, and I think a lot of people put a lot of time and effort and got a lot of fun out of it. Lots of villagers, children, right the way up to the oldest inhabitants would come with their cakes and their plants and their vegetables and their creative offerings, and then we would get very expert people from outside the village to come and judge these competitions, and there was great excitement just after the fair opened, because you could come into the old schoolroom and see if any of your offerings had won a prize.
Could actually do really well just by simply having a lot of your family in the village. I remember for years the Mellishes used to clean up because they had 3 really clever children, and then Sally used to do photography and sort of flower arranging and all sorts of wonderful stuff.
And then Granny moved in,
and then
so she could
Granny
start
moved in,
cooking
and
cakes.
then the Daintist moved in with 5 people and then a Granny. So we cleaned up for a couple of years, winning the family trophy just by the sheer number of competition entries you could actually make.
Nothing to do with the quality.
Nothing to do with the quality whatsoever.
You know, everybody competed for the funniest animal and vegetables, and with the children to make a miniature garden. And all these things were very important then.
I shall never forget the summer fair, the year that I was chairman, because we had this terrible plane crash where Mr. Hamilton was flying his own private aircraft, and nobody knew anything about it. And he did a loop and never came out of it, and crashed in literally just 100 yards or so away from where everybody was standing. And that really was
tragic.
It was very tragic.
And so we stopped having the fair down in Flowers Field. We decorated the high street. There were lots of floats going down the high street for about an hour, I think. All the theme was to do with the Queen.
and the children had a tea all along the high pavement. Again, we were very fortunate with the weather for these events.
We laid out tea in a real old-fashioned way with jellies and biscuits and cakes and buns, and the children all sat down, had their tea, after which there was a human Punch and Judy show, and I think Dennis Chamberlain was Punch and Mary Brewer was Judy, and it was absolutely hilarious.
It was always a great event, the Summer Fair, for many, many years. But Janet Taylor was organising it, and we had helicopter rides. And it was very exciting. Most of us hadn't been in a helicopter. And we went on a trip, and we zoomed down over the lake. And it was very exciting, and they were busy the whole afternoon. There was never a stop in the proceedings, so a great many people in the village had their first helicopter ride that day. We miss seeing the people, but we feel grateful that it gave us the opportunity to get to know so many people. I think that's what it did. It was good in that way, but it was a lot of hard work for not very profitable returns, I'm afraid, as the years went by and shopping habits changed.
The first harvest supper my husband and I went to was, we'd just moved in, and they had a very good little show, more like a sort of old village hall entertainment. And it was absolutely cram full. People had to almost sitting on their laps. I remember one lady, she had to sort of crawl underneath the tables to get out, to go to the loo in the middle of the meal.
Mrs. Hiscock loved to organise every event. I expect nowadays no one really wants to do the teas at the summer fair or the harvest supper, but she would have been highly offended if she wasn't asked to do it. And she had it very well organised, right down almost to the last biscuit, cheese biscuit for the harvest supper. And they always made a presentation to it at the end of the harvest supper.
Would you keep on bowing, like
yes.
do with the Sound of Music?
Yes.
When the woman lady comes on the Sound of Music, does he lay the Gestapo or whatever to getting the people? Yes. Should we keep on bowing and you know, we keep on clapping and she keep on bowing.
actually brilliant. We used to do it from Spratsbridge. My duck never came to the end. You know, it got lost.
One great new event for the Chew Magna Society started, I believe, in about 1984 as the duck race, which Colin Fielding thought up. It's been a great money raiser for the Chew Magna Society through the years. Usually it seems to be a fine day. I can remember the first event we had when we all gathered down at Spratsbridge and the ducks had to go all the way down to the church hall. And sometimes that journey was rather tedious, so since then they started upstream from the church hall, so it's a shorter route.
We're getting really excited now. There's a flurry of activity at the end. Oh, yeah! Go, 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 go! Woo! 3, 2, 1,
VE Day, the church hall was decorated like a wartime building. It had sandbags outside and camouflage net. In the evening we all went to the church hall and we had a wonderful show. And they had the old radio shows and it was a great evening's entertainment.
I can see you up there. Anything else? Not at the moment. Yes, I can just make out... What? What is it? What can he say? Keep back. Steady.
Keep back. This edge is very crumbly.
What did he say?
I said this edge is very crumbly.
Oh, too late.
Hello, everybody. We've fallen in the crater.
Yes, we all went down to Hertford Square and stood there when Peter Brownlee hung out of the window and took a photo of us all cheering and waving, and was in exactly the same position as the photo had been taken on actual VE Day.
It's not as much like a village. I mean, I know there's lots of people try to make it like a village still, but because there are lots of people that just want to live here and not really join in the village, But I suppose when it's so huge, it would be hard to have everyone joining in everything anyway, and that's just sort of part of progress, isn't it? You know, that things change. And if you've lived in a village a long time, I think you're never going to think it's as nice now as it was when you were growing up in it, and I think that would happen anywhere, really.
I just feel part of the place somehow. I think, you know, if you arrive and feel right here, and if you're prepared, you know, if you want to give a bit, you just get so much back.
We very seriously thought of moving about 5 years ago, and we looked around and thought, yes, we might move to Bath, yes, we might move to so-and-so. And then we thought, well, no, there wouldn't be a Sheila Walker arriving on difficult days with a bowl of stew, or a Mrs. Dalrymple rushing up offering to do something, or anything like that. And it's the people in the village, definitely, that I like about it.
We had Millennium flu, we had Millennium bugs, and we had the Millennium. That was a magnificent, absolutely superb do. We had fireworks.
The beacon burning outside the church hall, and the church bells rang at midnight.
It was a very, very happy occasion. Such a divided community in some ways, and you might not actually meet your neighbours because of working hours, and sort of there you are standing there watching the duck come down, and you can have a good natter. It brings people together. So I think it's evolving. It has to evolve. Life changes.
Gosh, how far are we going? We go up on the path.
Followed by 621, 85, 161.
61's Rosemary Campbell.
Rosemary Campbell, or Kendall.
Campbell.
Oh no! Follow on there.
Was there any indication that the numbers were rubbing off on the water or washing out at all?
The consensus view before you arrived, Ronnie, is that the small ducks were a success. There was a larger profit margin. They did. Sam put all these tents up herself. She does absolutely everything. She's just superhuman, and we love her. And she's actually said she's going to do this every year for the next 15 years.
They've had these events through the years, the summer fairs and the harvest supper and later the firework evening, which the children enjoy. And of course, when there's been events like the celebrations and Silver Jubilee, it's been the Chew Magna Society who've been the committee who've worked for all this. So I think it was a marvellous thing to have started, and I hope it goes on in the future because it does bring everybody in the village together very much.
Great admiration for all these people that can carry on 2 jobs and do the Chew Magna Society and everything else. Absolutely wonderful.
What a joy to